somebody, I know I saw that person. That's just to protect your clients. It's crazy we have to do that, but that's what it's come to. So just make sure you let your seller know they need to leave the house. And if they haven't, listen, if you got a seller and he's trying to sell his house, anything that he have that may be inappropriate looking, ask them to take it down. We had a broker luncheon, and we went in the house, and this man was fixated with naked women. There were so many naked pictures of women in the house. He had to have at least 20 or 30 pictures, statues, everything in this. And I looked at her, I said, did you tell him to take this down? She said, I asked him over and over again. Then he had a bird in there that was saying words about women in there. They just kept saying. And I was like, why did you even have the book of lunch in here? And she said, I thought that he was gonna take the bird. Where was he gonna take the bird? He covered the bird up.
That's when you just don't put that.
Yes.
No.
I was like, no.
No, just not.
In his
worth it.
bedroom, he had at least 10 pictures of women surrounding his bed. He bought an astronaut bath shower thing. I was like, girl, this is a little on the cuckoo side here, so. Just ask people to take some, if you know you got Aunt Margie and she look like she tore up from the front, just don't be offended. Just take her down so nobody laughing at her while you coming through. Just, just make sure if you got some pictures that's inappropriate that you take down. Make sure that you explain that our office does not hold earnest money. Okay, we do not, none. Make sure you establish how long they have owned the house. Okay, that you find that out by pulling the deed. Find out when they're having a conversation, if they're thinking about bankruptcy or they are under bankruptcy, you need to know these things. You need to know that you have access to the house, that you don't have to go through Aunt June's yard to get to the house. That's a private easement. While you were living there, Aunt June was okay with you coming through her yard. Now that it's a new person that's no longer related to her, she may say, no, you can't come through my yard. You about to build another road. So you need to make sure that you've established private easements and make sure that something has been agreed upon. If you're selling a mobile home, make sure you get a VIN number. Where are the couple places you can find a VIN number?
The DMV?
Besides the DMV on the actual,
Isn't it like under the sink or something?
yeah, all them little nice places, you can go there and find it because they want to have it. Okay, if you have owners association, make sure you get as much information you can. If you can't get it from the seller because they don't remember, they should. I have went to the MLS, looked in that subdivision and kind of looked to see the last time somebody closed. If they gave me information as to where, who was the HOA president and their phone number, and I called myself to verify, okay? It is your responsibility to verify that, not the buyer's agent, but yours, okay? The buyer's agent can confirm it, but it's your job to do that. Make sure that you get a sample receipt, a receipt of sample forms, the buyer's, the offer to purchase, and the professional service disclosure. Why do you need that professional service disclosure? Did George go over that? Because it's your job to make sure that all of the services that have been provided, that your clients have signed off on.
So if the buyer is asking for the bylaws, is my obligation or I can refer?
You can ask for the seller and the listing agent to provide that for you. But the same way that the listing agent got it, you can get it if you can go. Sometime you can Google the subdivision and see if they actually have an active, information up there and look from there. Or you can ask the listing agent to see if you can find it, okay? But it's our job to get that information.
It's our job.
Mhm. Flood insurance, a lot of this is, self-explanatory. If they got a current loan, make sure they have it. Some people may not put all the information. They may just put this Wells Fargo.
I'm sorry, at what point we should give the bylaws to the prospect or the buyers?
As soon as you're on the contract. If it's a lease, you need to know it's a lease. Does the new owner have to respect and allow for that tenant to stay in there for the duration of their current lease?
Yes.
Yes. Can they negotiate it once it comes up, whether or not they want them in there? Yes, but at the time, you cannot displace someone that's a tenant, okay? And who is the person that determines about the showings? The owner or the tenant? The tenant. That's why that woman was like, did anybody call me? When they walked out, she walked out with no clothes on. The FHA appraisal, understand that the FHA appraisal is 4 months. It used to be 6 months. It's now 4 months, okay? That it can stay within the property. Special assessments, what would be something considered a special assessment?
Sidewalk.
There you go.
Any improvements, public improvement.
Okay, that's fine. I'll be. Fuel tank. If you have a fuel tank, definitely need to disclose it. I don't know many people that do, but those that do, you definitely need, if it's underground, you need to make sure that you have that. If it's there and it's inactive, you have to definitely get someone that'll come out there and do the remediation for it. It's a long process. So if anybody's under contract, it may be a couple of months. Because you got to find someone that will come out, clean the grounds. And I'm not an expert at this. I'm just only telling you what I've heard. And clean it and make sure there's no, because that can seep into the soil. That leakage, that's right. Make sure you know about that. Talks about the seller duties. The seller has an obligation to complete that residential property disclosure unless they're exempt. Do that mineral oil and gas, lead base if it's before 1978. Restrictive covenants if they have it to provide it to you, as well as the bylaws, articles of incorporations, the rules and regulations. Some people have asked for a count to make sure you up to par with your HOA. I said, Lisa, can we get a current statement? I said, yeah, sure, but I think it's still $13 and some change, but yeah, I get it for you. So just make sure you're aware of that. Let me see if there's anything else we need to look at. Home inspection, of course, make sure you give them that Q&A, which we have on our DocuSign. It's there for you to share with them. Leave no blanks. Answer every question. If you don't know it, put NA or none if it requires it. Do not leave any blanks on this form. So if it says up here home inspection, you answer yes or no. Either yes, they want a home inspection, or no, they don't. If you see the number, put NA. 0, something. Okay, additional terms and conditions, that might be where you put in there. The chandelier is going to not convey with the property. Okay, that's the one time when you have additional terms and conditions, you can slide something in there. You can't write a book, but you can definitely put it in there. Dual agency agreement. We have in here, we are dual agency. What are the 2 ways that we're dual agent as a firm?
When you represent one transaction, both parties,
Mhm.
and then when you do designated, when you're
They have the same office.
That's
Two
it.
different jobs.
Designated. So we rarely ever do we do that middle one. The only time I've ever heard of people doing the middle one is if they go and do it with they getting the house built, because they're not looking for an agent. They're dealing with a builder. So they'll put that in and say, we don't want to buy a house from there or nothing. And so then you'll have it. Okay. So it's always going to be dual, and it can be designated. So you pick the first and the second one. If you're on the page, I don't know what page that will be, but if you see it, make sure you put those 2 in there. And I'm pretty much finished with this one. There's only one thing I'm gonna say, and then we'll be finished. The working with, y'all have already went over with George. This. The offer to purchase is one we have to do another time, because this one definitely needs. The wire fraud. I will tell y'all this story and then we're done. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm not sharing the screen anymore. I'm up here. The wire fraud, why we have the problem with the wire fraud. I was in the office where the wire fraud happened, that initially happened, that started up this whole craziness. We'll give you this story and then we're gonna be finished. We had an agent, she represented the seller. They did a closing on a Friday. At the end of the closing, she's driving down the road. She gets a call from the attorney. The attorney says, hey, notice that your sellers just sent me an email and said, hey, we want you to wire us the money versus overnight. It would that express overnight to us. And so she said, oh, okay, well, that's cool. All right, fine, have a good day. Monday comes, seller contacts us and say, hey, we never got the proceeds put into our, sent to us, because they were waiting the Monday, figuring it would take a day to overnight it. Never got it. They reach out to the attorney's office. The attorney says, we wired your money on Friday. Go look at your account and see. Look at the account, it's not in there. What happened? Someone interceded their email, changed one little letter in the email, sent it to the attorney. They sent it to somewhere in Nigeria. And so the buyer agent, the seller agent comes to us, the listing agent comes to us and says, what do I do? So we said, we'll call E&O Insurance, see what happens. Call E&O Insurance and they said, give us a rundown on what happened. Well, because the listing agent agreed to it, when the attorney's office called, she was on the hook for the $70,000. With the E&O saying they were taking no responsibility for it. Scott Taylor was the team leader. And he said, what? And they said, she agreed to it. She didn't call her clients because this is what I do with my clients. I say, how do you want to receive your money? This is how you want to receive it, then that's how we get done. So we go to the attorney's office and said, you have a responsibility because they hired you to take care of this. Why didn't you contact the seller to confirm it? They said, well, we don't really represent them, we represent the buyer. So it was the agent's responsibility to confirm this. So in hindsight, they go through the process, the sellers are like, we still want our money. So four people had to end up paying that $70,000. Four people. Four entities and people. The agent, Keller Williams. The E&O Insurance finally agreed to do it because they felt like it was fraud. And the attorney. So that's why you have to wait 3 days and do all this stuff. And why there's encryption, why you go to the attorney's office and they have the shades down so nobody can't go and have it stuff. They didn't know what had happened. And that's what started. And they were attacking a lot of Keller Williams offices and intercepting and trying to get money. I had one while I had a closing and they were sitting there saying, can you do this? I said, did I send you an email? No. Okay, then my clients haven't asked about no wire. So that's why we stopped accepting earnest money. Did not have any responsibility for money. And that's why even when I just finished my closing, they did a wire. In order for you to do a wire, you have to get a notary to notarize that it's you who's asking for the wire to be deposited into your account. So be careful, be on top of it. Make sure that you communicate. That was one of the things in that Y4C2, all that stuff, communication. So what I felt like, and I felt like that the listing agent was more responsible than what she took. She should have, when they called her and said, your clients are asking for the money to be wired, and you had the understanding it was going to be overnighted, you should have picked up the phone and called your client and said, I thought you said you wanted overnight. I'm sorry. I didn't know you wanted wired. And at that instance, what would have happened? They would have told her, we didn't ask for it to be wired. And she would have been able to call the attorney and said, don't wire that because they didn't ask for it to be wired. So that was a 2-minute call, y'all. She paid a fourth of that $70,000. A lot of us don't have that kind of money just laying around just to give because we made a mistake.
So you said we don't accept,
Earnest
earnest money.
No,
we accept the due diligence. I
The
mean,
due
when it goes
diligence will
straight
come
to the-
here, it goes straight, we can accept it, sign off on it, but we don't keep it here
right, that
in-house.
goes to the center.
It goes straight to the seller. I know
Right,
that.
but we deliver it to them.
Wouldn't it be better just to have a due diligence sent directly to the seller?
No, because we have a fiduciary duty to accept it in the behalf of them.
Okay.
In order for us to sign off on it and say we have seen it, because you need to have a copy of that in your file and upload it into the compliance. So the only way to do that, the best way is to have it brought here, so you can take a copy of it and then you can hand deliver, because it's your fiduciary duty to kind of, I mean, you getting paid a commission, you gotta do something besides just sit there and put a sign in the yard. Put it on MLS, okay?
Okay.
Any other questions? I hope y'all have had a nice day. I got you out at least a little bit early, did I say?
So on our part, I know they said we could get to working with real estate, brochures on command.
Mhm.
Print those out.
You can get all of them on command. Even the Q&A on command.
Okay, as far as the cards and the name tag that you guys provide for us that'll come in the mail.
It'll come, you have to order through Solid Boy's store, and when you do that, you have to order from the store and you put in our code 232.
Yeah.
And then you get the first 100 business cards for free.
And Joyce
And-
said that you need to have a phone number of the office in here, but I don't have, I just have a,
The
that's
6
what was on the sample.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Are you provisional?
The phone number of yourself, your phone number for yourself or for the office?
He said this both, that's what I didn't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, he said.
I mean,
the office,
don't
if
have nobody, I got one agent who every time someone send out an email, they say, if I'm not available, reach my broken charge. If she up here, I love her, but you know, I'm just saying. Okay, we're done. Thank y'all so much.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.